John chapter 5, verse 5 starts off like this. Soon another feast came around, and Jesus was back in Jerusalem, near the sheep gate in Jerusalem. There was a pool called Bethesda. Hundreds, listen to this, hundreds of sick people, blind, crippled, paralyzed, were in these alcoves, was near this pool. One man had been an invalid, had been sick, had been crippled there for 38 years. Do you hear me? 38 years. How long? Too long. When Jesus saw him stretched out by the pool, he knew how long he had been there. I want to talk to somebody today because as we've been dealing with and unpacking this whole thing about stories, if you're just joining in, you want to go back to some of our broadcasts and just get in tune to what God is speaking to you for this year. This year, God is unpacking your story. Many of us have gone through some horrific things, some traumatic things, some things that we couldn't even imagine, some things in life that we can't even explain. We're in therapy. We're trying to deal with people. We're talking with people, and we're coming up short. Some of us are finding ourselves depressed. All type of emotions are going through our minds and going through just how we see ourselves. But today, God is giving me a word to you today, because he's informed me that this is a year where you're examining, and what we've gone through in this past year is caused all of us to examine the purpose of life, where you stand. Should you get vaccinated or not vaccinated? Your economic status, your relationship status, your marital status, just where you are in life. And some are trying to answer it with all type of other people's answers. Some are going to psychics. Some are going to places where you shouldn't be going to. Some are feeling hopeless. Some are feeling in despair. Some don't know what to do. Some would used to go to the church just to get a quick fix. You can't even do that no more. Oh my God, but this is a year where God has informed me that God is rewriting. God is showing you. God is allowing you to examine your life's story. And today I want to talk about, we talked about last week, a couple of weeks ago, about how there's some plots and how plots can create drama in your life, and how some people have been living in a plot of drama and what other people thinking based on other issues and based on rules and based on all this stuff that has put you in some places. And then last week we talked about how it's time to resolve some matters. Every plot should have a resolve. And some of you all have been living your plot so long that now you've characterized your life by drama, that you live your life based on chaos and confusion. And if there's no fights, then something's wrong. If you're not always trying to defend yourself, then something's wrong. You have a defense about you. You have a disposition about you. There's just some things of godliness, of pride, a sense of entitlement, certain things in your life that you have put up as a wall. And now when it's time to, because every story should have some resolve. And so here it is, your story should have areas where there's unforgiveness taking place, where you're able to forgive, right, versus staying in that spirit of unforgiveness. Where there's anger, there should be some resolve to bring peace to a matter. Where there's a lot of tension and confusion and stress, there should be some resolve, because you can't live life like that. My God, there should be a resolve where the enemies tried to come and steal, kill, and destroy you, and you just living life on the edge and on the defense. But the resolve is, Jesus said it in John 10:10. He said he came that you may have life and have it more abundantly. God has given you some resolve. There's been areas of your life where there's been separation from God, disobedience of God. Sin has crept in. Missing the mark has stepped in. That's literally what sin means, that you've missed the mark. And that's been a plot of your life. But Jesus is coming to bring some resolve. He said it like this. He said, even the plot of sin, the wages of sin, the plot of that was death. But Jesus came in and said, but I've come to give you some resolve that you may have life and have it more. But for the wages of sin is death. But the gift, he came and he brought a gift to you. What is the resolve? A gift. But some of us even struggling with accepting even gifts that God even has. Do you know that God has a gift for your life today? Do you realize that there's a package that has been given? All you got to do is open it up. Oh, I see you, Judith. Yeah, that was a good word back then, changing your set. How sometimes even in the darkness, set changes happen, and how you can't characterize your life story based on the dark areas of your life. But to every story, there's going to be some dark places to change your set. Oh, that was a good word. But let me get back to this, because I want to bring something out to you, that here it is, that Jesus comes into your life to bring some resolve. Oh, I know what you've heard the church say to you, that, my goodness, that you'll be perfect, that you'll have no issues any longer, that problems will, no. Let me help you out for a moment, that there will be areas in your life where there is plots, where the spirit of unforgiveness, somebody didn't hurt you, somebody did you wrong, some things in your story keeps being a recurring theme, a recurring thought, some things you just can't let go. Oh, God understands that, and God even knows that some things in your story has hurt you so bad that you can't get into another relationship. You can't see that person the same way. Even there's some things of your own self that you're being stuck in your own way, self-sabotaging some opportunities, creating issues in your life where God is trying to bring some resolve, but you keep fighting and keep bringing stuff up and keep reliving the same chapters of your life, and God's trying to bring some resolve to it. Oh, I hope that from last week's message that you understand that every story has a plot, every story has some issue, some drama, something going on, but to every story you should seek to find some resolve. And I pray that these next couple of months in 2021, that you'll live in some resolve, that you'll take some time for self-care, that you'll take some time to stop being in so much drama, that you'll take some time turning off the social medias in the media that is bringing fear and that's creating traumatic episodes and triggers in your life, and certain things that will try to hinder you and keep you from what God has called for you to do. Oh, I'm hoping that these next latter months in your life, you'll be able to find some resolve and to go to people that's hurt you. Maybe it may be not confronting them, but it may be writing a letter. And after you write that letter, throw it away, burn it, do whatever you got to do so that unforgiveness, you can let it go. The bitterness, you can let it go. The fear, you can let it go. That this will be the year that some things that you've allowed yourself not to do because of something false appearing, evidence appearing real. That's literally what fear is, that you can have the courage and the strength to do some things. Oh, I know we're in a serious situation. This week alone, unemployment is ending. The housing moratorium is lifting. And I pray that if you are in need of help, that you connect with all over every state within at least the United States. There's rental relief for you. Don't allow pride to get in the way, but call them and say, I'm in need of help, my God. Unemployment is giving up. Could I say there's over 10, they said there's 10 million jobs that are looking for hiring? Could I say, don't be so prideful that you don't take something that might seem beneath you, but God can use that to uplift you. My God. Could I say, if you've been living just beneath poverty and living just to make ends meet, then look at your story and see what God is saying, because maybe it's time for you to do something better than what your previous chapters have said for you to do. Maybe it's time to go back to school. Maybe it's time for you to do something that's going to put you in a better economic place. Maybe it's time for you to leave some things, to pick up some things, or pick up some things and leave some things. Wherever you are, listen, this is the time, this is the moment. But could I say to you, do not allow these next several months for your story to be the same, for your story not to change, because you cannot live in plots too long. Plots are meant to change. That's why Jesus came in, because he saw that we lived in sin. We was a wretch undone. We couldn't save ourselves. We was enemies to God. There was wrath between us and God. That was our plot. The enemy thought he had us. My God, sin kept us from God. However, the plot changed when Jesus said, I've come that they may have life and have it more abundantly. Jesus said, I've come to fulfill the law. Jesus said, I've come that I've put on a garment of flesh so that the glory of God may come and that all flesh may be able to see it. And so Jesus, God himself, became the plot changer so that there will be a resolve in our life. Okay, I'm going to continue. Let's move on. Into every story, we find in every story that there are things. And what we find here in John chapter 5, verse 5 and following, we see a thing. It said in this story that this man had a sickness, had an illness, had a situation that lasted 38 years. In other words, this man's story was defined by his thing. It wasn't a story, even as we read it, it wasn't a story about this man's story. The story focused on his thing. The thing that he was paralyzed for 38 years. I want to talk to somebody today, because are you living your life based on things rather than the things just being a part of your experience? Things characterizes you. Things are what you're known for within your story. In other words, a thing is not your entire story. A thing is only an experience in your story. My goodness. In verse 7, it says that the sick man said, Sir, when the water is stirred, I don't have anybody to put me in the pool. By the time I get there, somebody else is already in. Jesus said to this man, he was speaking to the theme of his life. He spoke to the thing because this man started to define himself based on his thing. Jesus spoke to the man's thing, and he spoke to him and he said, you get up, take your bed, and start walking. In other words, Jesus spoke to the thing of this person's life. I want to talk to somebody, because have you defined your story based on some things that is a part of your story, but not the totality of the story? Oh, that's good. Let me say that one more time. Are you defining your thing in life as your totality of your story versus just an experience in your story? See, this man had an experience, but we have to be careful, because sometimes we could think our story is our thing, when the story is only where the thing is only an experience in your story. Oh, come on, put in some comments so I can know who I'm talking to if you're getting this. I want to talk to somebody because you've been defining your story on your things. Some of your things in life has been who did it, when they did it, and how they did it. Some of your things in your story has defined your story based on your sickness, based on your economic situation, based on the relationships that went wrong in your life, based on some circumstances, based on some loss, based on health issues, based on some relationships, based on so many different things. You're defining your thing based on a loss that you had in your family. So now you can't live your story in its totality because of a loss you've experienced. Maybe a loss of economics, a loss in a relationship, a loss of a loved one, a loss of property, a loss in situations. Maybe you defined your theme based on dreams of your life, and some of your dreams haven't been fulfilled. So now you define your whole totality of your story based on unfulfilled dreams and brokenness and despair and different things. Maybe there's some goals. You want to lose weight. You want to gain economic success. You want to gain success in your career. You want to gain success in your college experience. And now you're experiencing something where you've defined your life based on things, and your things have kept you stuck. The things have kept you from growing. The things have kept you from expanding. The things now define your whole story versus it just defining the experience in your story. Oh, I want to talk to somebody today because I want you to be freed up to understand that every story should have things, but every story should not have the totality of one thing just being a part of your story. Your theme in your story should define your experiences. Ooh. The things in your story should help you to focus your narrative. The theme in your story should cause, number 3, impact in your story. Let me say that again. The first thing, the things in your life or in your story should define that experience, where you could talk about it, where you could look back and explain it, where you could be able to see the good and the bad and the indifferent. So the first thing should be in your story. The first thing should be in your story is to define your experiences. That's a part of your thing. Your thing should be where it causes you to be able to define your experiences. You should be able to read in your book, in your story, that thing that got you from one experience to the next. This man with the issue with the pool at the pool of Bethesda, his whole 38 years should not have been the thing that he's stuck at a pool and cannot get healed. But here he found himself defining his story based on his thing. Could I ask somebody today, have you been living your story on a thing that now your thing is louder than your whole story in its entirety? Yes, let me say it again. Your things should define your experiences. But for 38 years, for 38 chapters, that should not be the only thing that we should know you by. Number 2, your things should focus your narrative. This man allowed his thing of being paralyzed, being unmovable, being stuck. It focused his narrative, where people begin to look at him through his illness. People started to look at him through his paralyzation. People begin to look at him as the man that can't move. Have you allowed your things to now define who you are? That now when people look at your story, they don't see you. They see your thing, and it speaks louder than who you really are. Your bitterness, unforgiveness, your hurt, your brokenness, your despair. Do people define you based on your things that they can't see other characteristics and other things, other scenarios, other sagas, other situations in your story? Oh, have you allowed your thing to be the major focus of your narrative? Have you allowed that thing to be the major focus? That when people see you, all they see is the thing of sickness, the thing of poverty, the thing of injustice, the thing of despair, the things of giving glory to negativity versus giving praise to God. How do people look at you through the things that you allow? That should only be a moment in your story versus the experience. So could I say, don't allow your things to defy the totality, or defined, that's what it should say. Define the totality of your story. The third thing is that your theme should impact your story. Oh, the things that go on in your life, it should be that they are impacting, that they're speaking to. It speaks well of your journey. That when I see the things that I can say, oh my goodness, I saw when you dealt with that thing. And look at how God brought you over. Look at how God saved you. Look at how God did great things in your life. Your things are the things that people should be able to hear, to see how you made it over. Your things should be how you once was this, but now you're that. You came through this, you came through that. Oh, does your things in your story speak of an experience in your life where we could say, my goodness, look at how you've overcome. Your things should not be what defines your story in its entirety. The things should be what speaks of your experience within the story. Is anybody getting anything today? Because I'm about to go. Oh, if you're not too careful, you could allow your things to begin to define you. Like this man in John chapter 5. His things defined him. But God doesn't want no thing to define your life. He wants the things to be something that shows the experiences of what you're going through. So could I say, don't allow the things to define you, but rather let the things speak of your experience. See, when you allow the things to speak of your experience, it speaks of how you made it over. It speaks of how good God is. It speaks of how people tried to put you somewhere, but when they tried to keep you there, God brought you over. It speaks of how when the enemy tried to keep you bound, how God set you free. The thing speaks of when I once was lost, preach a chord, but now I'm found. The thing speaks of I was low, but that was a season in my life when I was down and out. He picked me up and he turned me around and he placed my feet on a solid ground. The thing speaks of I once was lost, but now I'm found. This thing speaks of when I was low, he brought me up out of a horrible pit. The thing speaks of when I could not be found, the Lord found me. The thing speaks of when I was broke, busted, and disgusted. He was my fortress. He was my shield. He was my shade. He was my buckler. He was my high tower. Oh my God! The thing speaks of when I could not find any help, that God was my strength. He was my buckler. He was my high tower. The thing speaks of when I didn't know where else to go, when everybody left me half dead, that I was found. The thing speaks of, what is your thing?
Hey, PC here. Thanks for watching this video. Here's another video, and make sure you subscribe, like, and comment down below. Give on Givelify, type in Life Change Christian Church. Also tune in Facebook at Life Change Providence. We'll see you there.